The very best and the very worst that DC Comics has to offer. And yes, I will be ranking those absolute titles. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, you like me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, I think you came to the right place. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is going to be a fun one for you today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So first things first, I want to thank all you guys giving me this idea. A few weeks back, I did a Marvel version of this, highlighting some of the Marvel books you should be reading because let's face it, there's not that many Marvel comic books out there that you really should be reading, and I highlighted some of the better ones. The only real top tier book that's out there right now, I would say, is Ultimate Spider-Man. I would honestly say that DC Comics, for the first time, is really dominating over Marvel Comics storytelling. And you guys sat there and said, you need to do a DC version of this. And so I'm happy to do this today. I would say the second half of last year, going into this year, DC Comics has been hitting it out of the park. Storytelling, artwork, and I just want to highlight some of those great books, some of the books I'm currently reading, and then I'm going to obviously rank those absolute comics. So let's go ahead and let's get started here. So let's talk about the books I'm currently reading, right? And the one book I am reading that I think you should introduce to your kids, because it's an all ages book, is DC Sonic the Hedgehog series. It's a mini series, and I'm not highlighting too many of the mini series out here, whether they're good or bad, because, you know, take it for what it is. I am really the ongoing guy. I'll read the mini series, but a recommendation is like, if you miss one or two of them, it's like, just wait for the trade, right? But when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog, it's a fun book to introduce to your kids. Maybe they read all the Dogman books. Maybe they read all those young kid graphic novel stuff. And you're like, oh, let me go to the comic shop and let's check out Sonic and DC, right? Video game stuff. Kids play video games, so they might be like, oh, I know Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's check it out. My next door neighbor is a huge video game kid. He's like 8 years old, and I gave him those books and he absolutely loves them. So that's one to definitely check out for all ages. Now let's dive into Detective Comics. We all read Batman, and there's a lot of Batman out there. And Detective Comics is one of those books that is a staple, right? And I would say the last run for a lot of people from Ron V wasn't the greatest Detective Comics run. And I would say Tom Taylor is off to a better start when it comes to this one. This one has to deal more with like his family history and Joe Chill. He's hooked up with this other girl. He's found these like fountain of youth, like stem cells or whatever it is. We got introduced to a new villain by the name of Asthma. We're getting ready to go into the second story arc of this. So if you love Batman and you like everything Batman, I mean, why not? You're gonna pick up Detective Comics. Do I think this is the best comic ever? No. Do I think it's better than his Nightwing run? I think so far, yes, but we'll see how the story progresses here. The next one, I would say, isn't like the best comic, but it is fun right now, and that is the regular ongoing Batman. Right now we have Batman Hush 2, right? And this one is done by Jeb Loeb, and Jim Lee does the artwork. This brings you back to a different time of Batman. That's what this story feels like. It almost feels like it should be its own book instead of the flagship Batman book. But for some reason, they wanted to tell one last story before we go into the renumbering of the Batman series where Matt Fraction takes it over. So it's been an okay story so far, but some would say Chip Zdarsky's run wasn't that great. And Batman hasn't been a top tier book in quite some time. And I would probably agree with that, but of course I'm still reading it. It's almost like Amazing Spider-Man to me, but this is still better in my eyes than I think Amazing Spider-Man right now. In fact, by far. All right, more Batman stuff. Like I said, there's always Batman stuff to read, and I would say Batman and Robin Year One. This book is a fun also miniseries, but it's taking place all year round. So I think it's like 12 issues, and it's a story of Batman and Dick Grayson working together in that first year, right? You get to see Dick Grayson become Robin, trying to learn the ins and outs of being a hero, and it's just a good book. And you get like Child Protection Services coming to the main Bruce Wayne Manor to check in on him, and it's hilarious moments, and Samney does the artwork, and it gives it that old school vibe. It's definitely a fun book, and I definitely would recommend that. Staying in the Batman family, we go to Poison Ivy. This book is been done by G. Willow Wilson. It's a great story. I dove into it when All In happened, thinking, okay, well, here we go. And I feel bad for missing out on all the previous issues of this story because it's very interesting storytelling. I think it goes in depth with the Poison Ivy character. She gives her some good supporting cast characters as well. It's a little bit creepy. It's a little bit horrific. It deals with the green. It's dealing with the gray right now. And this is a fun book, something that I would never think of actually reading. All right, so now I think we're going to get to like a little bit on the higher end books that I think you should be reading. And this is the Jeremy Adams side of things. We got Aquaman. Aquaman has just kicked off. I think we're going into like issue 4 or 5 right now. And we have Aquaman who's a little bit more edgier here. He's been captured a couple times. He had this pearl that opened up this gateway, which you would think leads to like Darkseid and whatnot. Atlantis has been destroyed. He's trying to find Mira. He's come up with this, he has this new weapon that's been forged for him. There's just a lot of cool elements in this book, and I was never an Aquaman fan. So to get me to read Aquaman, that's a tall order. And then to stick with it, that's even a taller order. So it's pretty good, and Jeremy Adams is doing a good job here. The next book is Green Lantern. It's kind of funny. Last Green Lantern issue, there was a lot going on. A lot of characters, big, huge, eventful comic book, and I gave my opinion on this book about how I don't want so much going on to the point where it gets overwhelming for me or for other readers. And people were like, what are you talking about? You hating on Green Lantern? It's like, no way, man. I'm not hating on Green Lantern. It's just this is how I felt about this particular issue. This is the best that Green Lantern has been in years. Like, absolutely awesome. I do love this series, but I do fear for when there's so many other characters that the main character, Hal Jordan, gets lost in his own story, right? But this is a fun book. I love how they are trying to get maybe the emotional spectrum back, whether it's in Green Lantern or in the Green Lantern Corps, which we'll talk about that next. I love the different cast of characters in this comic book. We have Hector Hammond that's most recently been in this book. You got Carol Ferris, who's working with Hal Jordan. You also got Superboy. You got Odyssey in here. I mean, there's so much going on. Artwork is not the best, but it is a solid read. All right, and then we have the Green Lantern Corps. This one really focuses around the core characters. Like, I think you got like maybe Joe Mullins, you got John Stewart, you got Simon Baz, you got Jessica Cruz is in charge of Oa and the Battery itself. And this is the book where I think it's going to really focus on getting those lanterns back online, I think. I don't know, I get the two books confused, right? But that's what they're trying to do. And the last issue, or most recent issue, we kind of focused on the Red Lanterns. And now I think we're going to go through the different colors of the emotional spectrum here. The artwork is really a lot of fun. We got Hawkwoman in there. It's a great book. I definitely recommend it. If you're a Green Lantern fan, of course. All right. And then I would say the number one book here that DC is producing for me is the current Superman run. I really am enjoying Joshua Williamson's run of the title. And again, I'm not the biggest Superman fan. I would say that I like Batman over Superman, but this is the first time since Peter J. Tomasi's run, during that New 52 time, where Superman has actually been good, and there feels like there's actual stakes, and Superwoman winds up getting superpowers, and we've had this Brainiac story, and now it's like Zod is coming into play, and Doomsday's been here, and it's just Lex Luthor just got super evil in the last issue. I mean, there's just same thing, a lot of different story elements, but just really, really good and an enjoyable read with solid artwork. Superman's been awesome. I would say, like, out of the mainline books, like, this is my favorite book. So now here are the books that I would say that people tell me I should be reading, okay? And the first one, I get this all the time. Batman Dark Patterns. Mike, you should be reading this. How are you not reading Batman Dark Patterns? I feel like at this point, as far along as we are in this series, I should be trade weighting it, and that's probably what I will do. They think that this might be the best Batman book out right now. The next book is Green Arrow. Mike, why aren't you reading Green Arrow? You're a Green Arrow fan. You're right. I just happened to fall off of this book for a couple issues. My shop didn't get an issue or two, and then I just fell off of the story. Now I think we're getting ready to jump on a new story arc, so I'm probably going to jump on board once again. I love Green Arrow, and let's hope it is a good jumping on point, and I will enjoy the book. So now are the books that I feel are disappointing DC books. Do you agree? Now remember, I'm not naming every single DC book on here. A lot of the books I did leave out were like mini-series or just getting ready to end. But the one book that I did think was going to be decent, or didn't know what direction it was going to go in, was The Secret Six. I read the first issue and I'm kind of like, well, we'll see. And then I read the second issue and I'm like, no, we won't see. This is just something that's kind of totally off from, I would think, the original concept of Secret Six. And I get doing something different outside the box, maybe new characters. It just doesn't work. So I don't like it. Then I would say Action Comics, right? This suffers from, I would say, almost like the Batman effect or the Spider-Man effect. You have so many Superman books, and we're getting ready to have more Superman books, that this one gets left in the dust. I read the synopsis of the stories and I'm like, I don't even care about Action Comics. I just like Superman, right? And plus they did all these, like, I don't know, it was like a few months ago they did this story with different writers and stuff like that. I don't know. I just wasn't into it, and I'm just not into it now, but I am definitely curious on what you guys think of Action Comics. Are you reading it, or are you just reading Superman right now? Another book that I feel has really dropped off, and you could disagree all you want, but Nightwing for me is just a story that has completely fallen off. I mean, you had Tom Taylor's run, and you can say what you want to say when it comes to Tom Taylor's run. There was no real story progression. He always championed Dick Grayson. You know, he was this Boy Scout. Whatever you want to say about the character. But it was an emotionally impacted comic. Besides the artwork in this comic, I feel like the story is just boring and just lackluster and deals with these stupid gangs, and I just feel like it's just something that I just find myself not interested in at all. So if you guys like it, totally fine, but I'm just disappointed at the story right now. The next one is Wonder Woman, and I would say a lot of people agree with me when it comes to the Wonder Woman title. Tom King's been writing it for quite a while now. The artwork is beautiful in the book by Sam Pree, but we had this story going on a long time with the Sovereign, and it just went on too long. And that's the problem with Tom King's writing. Like, he just drags on stories after story after story, and people just lose interest in it. And now it looks like we're getting this kind of this story arc with Batman going on. But I lost interest in the whole Tom King run a long time ago. But this is a book that's a flagship character. This is a Trinity character. Like, everybody should be reading Wonder Woman. Everyone should also be reading Nightwing, and everyone should be reading a Superman. Now, I get it, Superman book, there's a lot of them, right? But you should be reading Wonder Woman. The next book is another big book. This one is Titans. Like, this is one of the most iconic and famous teams for generations. You know, you get the older generation read the Teen Titans, right? You get my generation that gets the Teen Titans cartoon, and then you get the next generation, like my son's generation, who's now, he just turned 18, he gets Teen Titans Go, and he watched that growing up. So there's a lot of people out there that love the Titans, but this book just misses the mark for me. I don't know what it is, but I want a more emotional book. Like, when I read Beast World, that event that happened, I think it was like last year, that was a good story. I don't get anything new or fresh out of the Titans book currently. It just seems the same old stuff, right? I can honestly say I couldn't tell you for this next book when was the last time I read an issue of it. But this is Catwoman, and I don't hear anybody, I mean anybody, ever talking about the Catwoman book. And from what I heard a little bit of it from you guys out there have told me that this is more of like an espionage, maybe a Black Widow or 007 type of book. I don't know. Is that the Catwoman character? Is that the way she should be? I don't know. It just doesn't interest me, right? If I want to read something like that, I probably would want to read maybe Black Widow. We'll see. All right. And then another book that a lot of people have told me has really fallen off, and I would probably agree with them because I gave this a few issues after Jeremy Adams left his run of The Flash. And of course, that's The Flash. What Jeremy Adams did with The Flash was amazing. Really good. Got me into a book I don't normally read. Got the whole family involved, and I absolutely loved it, right? And then we wind up getting Si Spurrier on the book, and you're just like, what is this? He kind of like tried to make it like a horror book and whatnot. I don't know where the book is at the moment in time, but his run just completely threw me off the book altogether. Another book that I can say that probably is a huge disappointment for a lot of fans, especially maybe older fans, is going to be Harley Quinn. I couldn't tell you the last time I read a Harley Quinn book. Oh wait, actually I did. It was that Harley Quinn Fartacular book. And that explains it all right there. Fartacular. If you have to rely on cheap fart jokes for a story for Harley Quinn out of all characters, that's sad, right? She is an iconic character that was created to be a villain in Batman's world and the lover of the Joker. And now they've just made her a joke character in the DC universe. And it's a disappointment. They need to do something with her. I don't know what it is, but they just do. The next book that is a disappointment in my eyes, and here's those lawn people again, is The World's Finest comic book. This is probably the biggest disappointment for me in the entire year. And there's an event going on based off of this book right now. But for me, in the comic book, it doesn't read the same way as it does the TV show, right? You had Justice League Unlimited. You got introduced to all the different Justice League characters. You like had Supergirl, you Martian Manhunter, you had Hawkwoman, you had Green Arrow at one time. You got Batman, you got Superman. You just got all these different characters, and they do these missions, and it was just fun. For some reason, it just doesn't work in the comic. But it's kind of like how Deadpool doesn't work for me. Like, Deadpool in the movies works. He's funny. He's hysterical. He makes you laugh, right? Harley Quinn in the show, I don't watch the cartoon, but like in the movies, she's easy on the eyes, and she is funny, but she's still badass, right? So it's like, I like the character in the movies. And it's just like this. It's good on the TV, but it's not great in the comic book. But I know probably a lot of you guys disagree with that. There's one more. When it comes to probably one book that just needs to stop altogether, like, you have squeezed all the juice out of this lemon at this point, and that's DC Vampires. Like, please, just stop. Like, that should have ended last year. You had like 12 issues. You had a spin-off series. Like, just stop. It's over. Who is buying this book? Just let me know in the comments below. And do you like it? I feel like the only reason why you buy this book is maybe because it's got some cool variant covers. And it's probably the same thing with Harley Quinn. I'm not going to lie. People buy that for, variant collections, right? So Yeah, please stop with DC versus vampires. Now, since this is the summer of Superman, we got a couple upcoming titles that are coming out. I searched through all the month of May and all the month of June for like new number ones. Something you might want to check out, obviously, is Superman Unlimited. That's Dan Slott's Superman story. Where does that stand side by side with the Superman title itself? Still yet to be determined. If you read the free comic book day preview, wasn't bad. Definitely will check it out. The next one is the new Supergirl series. We haven't had a new Supergirl book in quite a long time. So yeah, we're definitely going to be checking that one out. Then we got the Krypto comic book that's getting ready to come out as well, as I feel like this is a story that has to deal with Krypto protecting a young Kal-El in his homeworld Krypton. So that could be cool. So again, more Superman stuff. Hopefully it will be good. The one book though that's not Superman that is upcoming is Robin and Batman Jason Todd. So they had a Batman and Robin series. I want to say it was either last year or 2 years ago, and it was done by Jeff Lemire. And he also did the artwork in it. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to pick this one up as well. So I'm excited about this one. Hopefully you guys are too. So now this is the time of the video where we're going to talk about, obviously, the Absolute books. When it comes to the Absolute books, I feel like this is really what changed the game for DC Comics. Because if you haven't read DC comic books in a while, or you've never read comic books at all, and you want to jump in, this is it. And you don't even have to follow the current mythos of what's going on in the main line. You can take these characters, and this is the universe you follow. And that's what I like about it. I don't like comparing Absolute stuff to the other stuff. It's completely different. Now, I have a feeling this is all going to cross over eventually, so we'll see what happens then. But for right now, here's what I ranked my Absolute comic books. And the furthest one along is Absolute Batman. That does get the number 5 spot. Reason being is because even though it's a big, bulkier Batman and he's much more violent, it's still Batman. And we've seen so many different versions of Batman over the years. And we've seen Scott Snyder write Batman in the past. That's why this one kind of gets number 5. It's not that it's not an enjoyable series. I really enjoy it. It's just my number 5. My number 4, and maybe because we've only had a couple of issues of it out so far, and it really has been just a chase, but it's still really awesome, is Absolute Flash. This is written by Jeff Lemire, and it's absolutely awesome. He makes this book purposely all over the place, so you're just as confused as Wally West in the comic. I absolutely love that. The colors are bright and vibrant. This is a great book to read, and again, this gets you on board for this version of The Flash. And what makes it kick-ass too is the rogues in this book as they are chasing after Wally West. Really great stuff, man. Now we move on to number 3. And I would say that probably a lot of you disagree with this one. Probably you guys would say this would be my number 5 and the other 2 would be ahead of it. But this one makes it different, and it's Green Lantern, okay? This is Green Lantern where it's a lot different. You know, you got Hal Jordan, who's like Black Hand. You got Joe Mullins, who's the Green Lantern. You got Guy Gardner, who's the sheriff. It's flipped on its head. It's completely different from what we know. Abin Sur is still alive. You think he's like the judge, the jury, the executioner in the series. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered going into this book because we only read 2 issues up to this point. It has an anime manga feel to it, but it's different, and that's what I like about it. It's like I don't have to read anything in the past Green Lantern series to understand what's going on in this book, and that's what I like about it, man. So that's why it gets number 3. And number 2 is kind of like the same reason of number 3, and that goes to Absolute Martian Manhunter. I really enjoy this version of the character, where this guy is a cop. He doesn't realize that he has a Martian inside of him. He suffered this accident. He's like tripping. He doesn't know what's real, what's reality, and it's just an insane comic book altogether. You got the White Martian that entered the field of play in the second issue as well. I mean, this is such a great comic book. They even went as far as hold a page to the light and you can see who our main character is. You get to see the Martian inside of him. Like, dude, just great stuff. I really love this comic book.
So this is super embarrassing. I'm editing the video and I realized, whoops, I forgot an Absolute comic book, and yes, it is Absolute Wonder Woman. Where is that going to fall? It's going to fall in the number 6 spot. It's recently been a really great book. I would say based off of the last 2 issues, if we had that same artist on that comic book, I would say that this has a potential of being like number 2 or number 1. But we're going back to the original artist, which is good in his own way, but I love the most recent artist we got on that last story arc. Really showcases the story that Kelly Thompson wants to tell here, right? And I feel like Kelly Thompson's doing a decent job at telling this version of Wonder Woman, how she's come from hell, her mother is Cersei. An absolutely wonderful book. But it just doesn't crack that top 5 because I feel like without that top tier artwork, it's just not quite as strong.
And then my number 1 Absolute title, believe it or not, is Absolute Superman. Now you would say, well, you like 2 and 3 because they're so different. Superman kind of feels like Superman, except he's just a little bit darker. You're right. But for some reason, I really enjoy this book. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the artwork. I don't know if it's the good storytelling. I don't know if it's the origin stories. I don't know. But I just think maybe it's a combination of all things. Like, overall, it's just a great comic. I do like seeing this version of Kal-El, who's a little darker because he witnessed his planet blowing up. He lost his parents. He wasn't so young as a baby where he didn't witness all that stuff. And then he gets thrown to Earth and he gets Ma and Pa Kent and he gets taken away from them as well. You can understand why he's pissed off and why he hates Lazarus. You get things behind the scenes like crazy ass Brainiac. You got Lois who's searching for him. You get the Omega Men in this book. Like, it's a great book overall. I absolutely love it. But when it comes to DC altogether, it's the Absolute line that is tearing it up and that has set DC Comics above the rest, and why it has really risen to the top above Marvel this year. How is Marvel going to counteract that? I have absolutely no idea, and I don't know if they can. But there you guys have it. There are my thoughts on all these DC comic books in general. Do you agree? Do you disagree? A 27-minute long discussion here. Leave me all your thoughts and comments down below, guys. And if you love my content, there's always more content right here for you to click on. Remember, subscribe to the channel, support those local comic shops, keep buying, keep collecting, but always read your comics so we can have great comic conversation just like we did today.